Now, author of the book The Anxious Generation says young people secretly hate phones and support the banning of social media for under 16s.
Yes, and a lot of reports have said the same thing, that actually youngsters would actually quite like to give up their phone. And the only reason they're addicted to it is because everybody else is too. You know, you can't be the odd one out. Anyway, this comes as the government's independent terrorism watchdog has suggested that the UK should enforce an Australian-style social media ban to prevent teenagers from being radicalised online.
Well, member of Health Professionals for Safer Screens, Professor Matthew Sadlier, joins us now. Good to see you this morning. I mean, it's all well and good, the claiming it would reduce terror threats and radicalisation amongst young people. That's not the big threat, though, is it? In real terms, the big threat is what social media is doing every day to young people.
100%. I mean, the big threat at the moment is the health effects. And we know that there's physical health effects from, an epidemic of short-sightedness because too many children are not looking at horizons. They're spending too much time looking at objects too close to their face, into mental health effects from eating disorders through to anxiety, depression. And then you go on to the societal effects, like, as you say, the radicalization or the big problem with pornography use, and also children sending images of themselves that are inappropriate. So, there's multiple of effects that happen from children being exposed to smartphones and social media at a very young age. And what we would be calling for is restrictions in regards to that. Now, obviously, Australia has come in with the social media ban in under 16s. That's only been online for about 3 weeks now, which included Christmas as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see with Australia how that is implemented, how that's enforced, and over time, what is the long-term effects of that.
Yes, but interestingly, the initial research suggests that a lot of the young people in Australia didn't mind giving up their phones or their social media standpoint on phones, as long as everybody else did too. And in a way, they were quite relieved that somebody, in other words, the adults, I suppose, were taking control of the situation that they see as running away with them.
Oh, 100%. And there's very good evidence on this that there is a diversity of opinion among adolescents in regards to phones. It would be unfair to say that every adolescent doesn't want their phone, but it would be also unfair to say that every adolescent wants a phone or wants to be connected on social media. Adolescents do find social media very socially anxious. They find it an unpleasant place to be quite a lot of the time. And most of the studies done would show that there's a confliction there, but there's definitely a feeling that adolescents felt, a certain percentage of adolescents, now it depends on what study you read, but that they feel almost compelled to be on social media. They compelled to do this, even though they would prefer not to be there, that they find it a scary space. And actually, most studies would show that most adolescents are aware that they spend too much time on their phones. So that's very understandable. Now, obviously, there's a very vocal group who want to be on their phones. And I think with all these legislations, what we also have to bear in mind is that there will be a transition phase. That if you ban social media for 16-year-olds now, you'll have a group, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds who've been exposed to phones, who have inculcated that into their lives. And that would be a change. However, there's a group of children coming behind them who hopefully will not have been exposed. And thus it won't be as difficult to implement that for that group.
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN. And a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. This offer ends on the 7th of January, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
Yeah, but I wonder if it would be difficult. I mean, I know it is different for adults, but for those of us who at various points in our lives have gone, do you know what, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm staying away from social media, the sense of relief and freedom is immense, and you would imagine young people would feel that too.
Oh, absolutely. Now, obviously, as you know, there's some people who build their identity around social media, and there's some people who it's absolutely very difficult for them to give up. But again, it's going to be very interesting to look from Australia and see what the numbers are. My feeling is that there will be a significant number, probably a majority, who will report some benefit from having put their phones away. And actually, if you look at schools where they've done this, where they've banned phones, you will find that a majority of children will say, actually, this was a good thing. I was spending too much time on my phone. You know, connecting over phone and connecting over social media, we know from neurocognitive research, is not the same as a connection in person. It isn't the same sort of relationship we develop. And that's why we have this kind of weird oxymoronic position where we have both the most connected children, but also the loneliest children. With children reporting higher levels of loneliness than elderly people.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's interesting on the tech side of it all. I mean, companies like Clicks have now just decided they're launching a phone this year. I noticed the other day, the Communicator, which looks a bit like a BlackBerry, and it's got all the bells and whistles, but it doesn't have social media on it. It's meant for professionals who just want to do their emails and what have you. But actually, I mean, stuff like that, we're reaching a point where the market seems to be accepting that you can have a smart, modern phone with Android, with all the bells and whistles. You just take that element away from it.
Absolutely. Now, I would always make the parallel to smoking. And I suppose one of the advantages of getting slightly older is you remember as things changed over time. And like filters were introduced into cigarettes as a way of mitigating the effects of nicotine and tobacco. And to a certain extent, this is what these phones are doing as well. They're trying to mitigate some of the negative effects. But what we know is if you give an adolescent a phone that has a camera and a connection to the internet, you're kind of asking for trouble to a certain extent. We know that, and I know it's an early time and we're before the watershed, but if you look at kind of child abuse material, the majority of that now is being self-produced. Is actually children being asked to take photographs of themselves. So while I accept some of these lower technology phones are one of the solutions, they aren't the complete solution because they don't close off all avenues.
Okay.
Fascinating subject, isn't it?
It is.
Because it's almost a revolution that's starting from the ground upwards. The young people are almost expressing their desire for a way out of this, and we should be able to provide it. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
No, thank you.
I know that there's one very famous actress in America, I think she's the Barrymore, Drew Barrymore, I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
Who is talking to Apple about it and working with Apple on seeing if they can produce a phone that is very desirable for young people. As you say, bells, whistles, looks cool. It's the phone to have, but it doesn't do social media.
A load of stuff, yeah.
And they are working on it. So I think a lot of the big producers are trying to address this problem.
You see,
without doing themselves out of business.
You know, I love my tech.
Yeah, you do.
But I mean, this Communicator device, which isn't, I mean, it's not out for months and months and months.
This is the Clicks thing.
The Clicks thing. And that looks really, I mean, I have to say, it looks really nice in the old, and if you're old enough to have had a BlackBerry and all that sort of thing where the physical keys were quite nice, it's very tempting. It's very tempting and a lot cheaper.
Yeah, but you like scrolling through.
But I do like scrolling, so I'm torn. I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do.
Well, get one when they're available and then see which one you spend more time on.
Yeah.
Or see which one makes you feel more relaxed when you've got it with you rather than the other.
It's just all your messages and your WhatsApps and your Telegrams and all that, but what it doesn't do is social media. I don't know. It's interesting.
I do think it's fascinating that this isn't being totally resisted by the very youngsters we're talking about. In fact, some of them are expressing a real desire for it.
I sort of think we should just get on with it.
Yeah,
to be
like
honest.
Australia has.
Yeah, just push it through, make it work, and there will be a backlash from some, but, you know, tough. You have to get used to it, really. It's to their own good, really.
Well, they don't like being told that, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think. gpnews.com/yoursay.